How's it going, guys? Coffee here. Today I wanted to go over the Gemma1 Flamejet build for the SS4 Whispering Mist season. Similar to the changes for Gemma 2, there basically are going to be some changes to this build. Your early leveling stuff is not really going to change whatsoever, other than your auras are going to change now because of the changes to where you can only have a single aura on each passive skill slot. But this is going to be, they're going to give you 4 passive skill slots because of this. Most likely the passives you're going to end up wanting to run are going to be either Ice Imbue or Steadfast, depending on if you want offenses or defenses. The Ice Imbue is going to give you better clear because it's going to give you explosions. And you will be freezing and everything will be frozen basically when it's dying because of something I'm going to show you here in just a second. And then you want to be running Elemental Amplification, as well as Deep Pain and Energy Fortress. For your actual skills themselves, you are just going to be running Flamejet. This is going to be the setup, presuming this is a self-cast still. With the new activation mediums, at some point we will be swapping to those. You will be just swapping out Freeze Chance or Speed Up Formation, depending on what chest you're using for whatever activation medium you're using. We will be using Starstalker. This is getting buffed a little bit. And then you'll be using Mana Boil, but if you get activation mediums, you'll end up dropping these for like a Ice Lances or Split Firebolt, whichever you prefer, in order to trigger your activation mediums. We do have a forced start here with Defense Layers. This cooldown reduction is just going to be the activation medium for everything. And then we just have a Savage Charge here. The Pain Amplification will end up getting turned into a activation medium for like the one that gives you command. The soul candles are staying the same. It's still a Soul Eater candle and then a +1 max Terra quantity or what you want. And then for the pets, you still just want as much affliction effect as possible for everything. So you want all the affliction effect pets. If you have 3 of them that give affliction effect, that is going to be your best bet. If you don't, like me, then you just run the 2 of them that you got, and the last one will just be dot damage, and you just be happy with that. In regards to the slates, they are going to be the exact same ones from Gemma 1. You just want this like plus to spell skill levels and persistent skill levels, and then you just want affliction effect, some reap sources here, and then for your pedigree, you can just use anything either offensive or defensive, whichever you want. We don't need to use versatile anymore because we're not using precise cast on crit. So something will probably come to the head. I mean, Translucent is probably going to be the best for Gemma 1, period. Just because Translucent is the best talent in the game for Gemma 1, because it's basically 60% damage. Or I guess 40% damage on this version, because you're not using the other thing. But that's going to be the same. So in regards to the tree itself, things do change a little bit. You are going to end up needing to take this mana restored on hit early on. At some point, you can get the percent of mana gained whenever you use a skill to basically cover your mana instead. But until then, you are going to need these mana points. Once you get those, you can move these points over here into the additional damage against frostbitten enemies if you want. Or you can just take more defensive stuff. That's going to be up to personal preference for you. The Arcanist Tree, this Frostbitten talent here, is being changed. It's being buffed significantly. So if you look here under Frostbitten, we can kind of see that the actual Frostbitten trait itself is being changed from, instead of it just being additional 90% damage to frozen enemies, it is dealing an additional 60% damage to frozen enemies, but it is applying Frostbite in 100 Frostbite value, which instantly freezes something, when you deal cool damage to enemies for the first time. So this means by just having a single ring or a single memory over here, so if you see you have a single memory here that has some cold damage to spells, this is enough to ensure that you can trigger your ability to instantly freeze every single target as soon as you touch them with anything. So with things being frozen, they're already going to be taking 60% extra damage because of Frostbitten, and then because of extreme coldness, you're going to be lowering their elemental resistance by up to 140%, or their cold resistance rather. So this is really, really strong. You do get a lot of freeze duration here on the tree. there is a new hero relic trait that you can get for freeze duration as well, based off of your fusion energy. You do have 13 fusion energy if you have a +4 here. So this does get you up to whatever that is. What's that? 60 plus 18? 78% freeze duration you can get from this as well. So that's going to be giving you freezes that are well over 2 seconds. That's going to be enough to basically ensure that you're killing pretty much everything while it's frozen. So then you can then get the frost explosions through ice imbue. You are gonna want 2 different relics depending on if it's for bossing or mapping. If you can't get the freeze effect one, that's fine. Or if you can't get one with max fusion energy, you just get one that has the other 2 of these stats, and it's still going to be really solid. This one's going to give you fusion energy effect, as well as increasing the duration of Frostfire Rampage, and the other one's going to give that freeze duration. For your memories, you're going to be wanting to use the 2 Extremes Legendary. If it's right now, it's like 1 FE or something. But if for some reason it's expensive, just use the prototype in the meantime, or just spec it on the tree. It's not that big of a deal anymore when it comes to actually leveling, because what it gives is you'll just basically be losing a little bit of damage here. You just won't use Glacial Flames, you'll lose a little bit of damage in the meantime until you can get your Ice Imbue, or until you can get your 2 Extremes, and it's not going to be the end of the world. The last other things here are going to be in regards to the hero memories. These are going to be changing significantly. You're going to basically want one of these that has this top mod on here, because you want the Tenacity Blessings for some extra defenses, as well as the chance to deal double damage from the Focus Blessings. And then you just want the additional damage for while you're basically in Frostfire Rampage. And then the same thing, you want the extra additional damage when the enemy is ignited, and the extra additional damage while during Frostfire Rampage. In regards to the auras, I can't put these in the build code yet because they don't exist yet, but these are going to be the supports that you want to put on your auras here, and then the exact order that you want to put them in. And then when it comes to the activation mediums, if you don't have all 3 of them, you're just going to end up using the activation medium rhythm on your Flame Jet. Basically, again, drop your speed up formation or your freeze chance, depending on what you're using. If you are using this chest kingly armor still here, which locks your restoration speed, then you can safely drop speed up formation. But if you're not, then you do end up still needing to run speed up formation, and you'll drop the freeze chance instead. The gear is going to be the same as it is for the Gemma1. This is kind of the cheap version here still, with the Corrupted Marrow, as well as the Kingly Armor. You're just using a +2. Basically, you just want Affliction effect on every single piece of gear, the same way as it is for Gemma2. With the filters that I'm giving you, this is going to basically allow you to see all the gear that either has Reap and or Affliction effect. So you want to just ensure you're getting Affliction effect on every single piece of gear, and then you add in the Reap, as well as like the Reaping cooldown recovery speed, things like that, as you can get it. In regards to your staff, you're going to want something like this, but instead of the curse effect, you are going to, or instead of the additional damage to life, you are going to end up wanting to get cooldown recovery. They are removing the cooldown recovery supports, so you're going to want to basically ensure that you're getting that on your staff to compensate. In regards to the traits here, this is going to be what you're going to want to be running here. This is going to be pretty much locked in. You're not really going to change anything, again, unless you don't have the legendary memory. You are going to want to run Frozen Flame so that you can consistently get extra Frostbite rating and repeatedly freeze things like bosses, things like that. Yeah. So other than that, you basically are just going to be running a self-cast version of this. You can use your Flame Jet while using Savage Charge. So if you want to just still have a movement skill that you don't have to hit, you can use Savage Charge and just continue to run around with Flame Jet. I took off the magical source, so I can't simulate what it's like to have mana right now, but I guess I can put it on for this. since you'll have mana because you'll be hitting things with the other thing in game, and they are lowering the mana costs. But so you can run around a Savage Charge like this and just continually, basically, again, spam your right click. Hopefully the activation mediums are really, really common so that you'll be, everyone will be able to get everything automated pretty early. But if not, there's that. So I am going to include the links to these other two builds. This is the build from last season using Precise Cast on Crit. The build is going to be losing some damage. Compared to Cast on Crit, like it's losing at least, it's probably going to end up losing like at least like 45 to 50% of its damage in comparison, but the build is still going to be extremely strong. If you're doing 300 million DPS, you're still doing more than enough, or 300 billion DPS rather. You're still doing more than enough for most all the content in the game that you need to be doing. And then I think with the new activation medium setups, I'm sure that we're going to be able to find a way to kind of increase the damage. You're getting a lot of extra damage because of just some adjustments to the hero relics, the hero memories, as well as to the Arcanist tree. So we're just going to have to kind of see how it ends up playing out. Again, you are going to be losing some damage, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. And then in regards to if you are looking for the setup for leveling, you do just want to be basically leveling with Split Firebolt all the way up. It's the skill you start with. It's really, really good on Gemma. You continue to run it, and then you start out with the same god of this Goddess of Knowledge tree here. And then, again, you are pushing 28 points into this now because they do now cap at 24. It takes 24 points to push into this instead, so you are going to end up putting the points into this to get the mana first. You'll put your 24 points into here, and then instead of picking up Elementalist second, you are just going to be picking up Arcanist. So you're going to end up following this exact tree that you see here, where you end up picking up Arcanist second because of the fact that Frostbitten is going to be so good. Early on, if you do not have any sources of cold damage somewhere on your gear, it is important that you end up running an added cold damage on your main skill, because you're going to want to ensure that you're freezing everything every single time. So ensure that you're running added cold damage. It might be a slight DPS loss on paper, but because you're going to be freezing everything and basically getting explosions off of it, it's going to basically be better off overall. Same thing goes early on. Pick up Reaping Agony and use that on your skill if you don't have enough reaping sources on your gear. But if you have any other questions, I'm not going to go super into detail with it because I covered this pretty extensively in these other videos. So I'm going to link these down below. If you do want to, or basically if you need more information or want more information on the leveling of the build and how to get started on it and kind of transition it into endgame, you can go over that in the by watching the other videos. I will go over the traits here because we didn't go over those. For Goddess of Knowledge, you are going to want to be taking Winter here, as well as Burning Touch, because all of your damage to cold damage also applies to your fire damage on Gemma1. So this is going to be better than Insight. And then for Arcanist, you are going to be taking this Frostbitten and Extreme Coldness. And then for the Psychic Tree, you end up picking Affliction and Reap Purification. So Reap Purification was being nerfed, which is part of where you're losing damage, and then with the removal of Precise Cast on Crit, you're losing a significant source of damage. So that's why the damage is going to fall off a bit, but it's still going to be really, really strong. Still a recommended starter for those that don't have a battle pass, basically, or with the battle pass, it does now unlock all characters for you to use for that season. So if you are using the battle pass and you want to play one of the two, I would still recommend Gemma 2 over Gemma 1. But if you're a full free-to-play player, then this is definitely going to work for you still. It's still going to be really, really strong. It's just going to have basically slightly worse defenses than Gemma 2 because you will not be able to consistently refreeze things as well as Gemma 2 can. And then you won't have the hero relic that is a cheat death. So other than that, it's all pretty much going to be the same. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And other than that, see you in the next one.